When we talk to student athletes about building out their school list, a very natural first step is to start to list schools. But we would argue that this is a very natural place to start, but it doesn't necessarily set you up for success later on down the line, because ultimately the experience that you have in college doesn't come down to the name of the school that is sitting on your list. It comes down to a cross-section of all these different dimensions that you see here on your screen about what comprise the right holistic fit. It's academics, geography, setting, size, athletic, social, and so much more. This is just a partial setting. These 6 dimensions here are just a partial listing. And then once you dive in on any single one of these, you start to get an idea of the vast spread of different experiences even within any one of these. So if you look at academics, it's not just necessarily what is the top rank or the top ranked academic school on US News and World Reports. It is, does this school have a specific area of interest or academic strength or area of focus in what I am pursuing? I was a history and philosophy major. MIT and Caltech are 2 great schools, but if I have my heart set on majoring in the humanities, it might not be the right academic fit for me, despite those schools' obvious academic strength, because their focus academically is in the STEM program. They're in engineering. They're putting things on the surface of Mars. They're not teaching max about an animal. Geography. One here that I like to harp on, sure, it goes into climate and is it close to things that you enjoy doing, you know, outside of the classroom and off the baseball field, but how close to home is it? Is it 20 minutes away and you're popping home on weekends for laundry? Sorry, mom and dad, you know, great to see you. Or is it on the other side of the country? Or for a lot of student athletes, is it somewhere in between where you're close enough to gain access to your family, but they're not necessarily there every day? Setting. Setting is one that I think has multiple dimensions as well. Obviously there's kind of this, and this is what you would see in the Princeton Review or in these college guides, you see is it urban, semi-urban, suburban, rural, and that's an important dimension to it. Within that, there's also different experiences. Pomona, GW, NYU, and Harvard are all schools that would be classified as urban, but they offer very different types of on-campus experiences because of the city that they're in and also their relationship to the city. Size, I think that a lot of parents and student athletes, as they look through their school fits, look at the total size of the school, but let's take that one step further. What is the impact of that size on the actual on-the-ground academic and administrative experience for student athletes there? You know, what is the division of undergrads versus graduate students? How does the size of the school play into the average class size? What is the access like for academic support? What is the process for something as mundane as registering for classes? The last thing that I would touch on here is athletics, and Matt mentioned, and we'll talk in detail about it, Division I, very different experience than Division III in a lot of ways. Not one better, not one worse, but different types of experience in terms of the commitment, the time commitment, the discipline, the level of play, everything in between. But also, what is the picture of baseball within the broader athletic department? Is it a football-focused school that has a baseball program? Is it a baseball program or a baseball-focused school that has a football program or has a volleyball program or has soccer? What is the role that baseball plays within the athletic department? That, again, one is not better or worse than the other if it's the focus or if it's not, but it does change the way that the coach goes about their role within the program and the way that the campus interacts with the baseball program.
So we just talked a lot about what you can be looking into an actual school before creating the list. I think these are all some of the questions that you brought up are really good to ask a college coach, because they're used to answering the same questions over and over. Not a lot of 15, 16, 17-year-old kids are going to be asking some of these. And I think at Headfirst, where you have the experience of playing at a school like Amherst, but we're looking at some of the Ivy League schools. You were looking both D1, D3, or some of our other folks here that played on the D1 or D3 level. They really can give you the tips and tools to be able to go into a showcase or go into a summer/fall season extremely prepared and not waste any minute, because efficiency, as we will talk about, is going to be key.
We've said that starting from a list of school qualities is important and will set you up for success beyond just starting with a list of schools. How do I start to find this list of qualities for myself as a student athlete or for my family? And for me, I think about this as really the interaction of two things, which is getting on-campus visit experiences at a lot of different schools, as many different schools as you can, and really thinking intentionally and questioning deeply what it is about these campuses that stand out to you. The counterintuitive thing that you'll see here on this slide is start at schools that you're not interested in. You might say, Max, why would I do that? Why would I visit a school that I'm not interested in? What I mean to say by this is that this allows you as a student athlete to separate the individual qualities of the school you're visiting from this bigger dream that you've had about a name brand associated with a school. For example, if I've had my heart set on going to NYU from the age of 6, when I go on a tour of NYU, I'm not going to be thinking, is a school with an urban setting where a campus is embedded in the heart of the city, is that the right fit for me? I'm going to be saying, oh my God, I'm on NYU's campus. This is what I've dreamed of. If you're interested in NYU, go on a tour of GW and get a sense of what it feels like to be on a campus that is embedded into the city in which it's located. And ask yourself, is that the right fit? It certainly could be, and if it is, great, go on that tour of NYU to learn a bit more about your dream school. But start to think about these individual qualities by separating them from the schools that you're touring.
And I think another kind of pro tip here is this process is so expensive and there's only so much time. A lot of folks that at least that we see are close to a city or can get near a city or they're traveling through a city. So make sure that you, if you're there, if you live outside of Boston, for example, where we both grew up, that you can find, all right, well, I know I want to look at a small school, a big school, a city school, and a rural school. So now I can go ahead and I can do those things at a 45 to 2 hour drive and really knock all of that out without having to get on a flight and go to DC or get in the car and sit through New York City traffic.
And the other thing that I always advise student athletes and families to do as well is so many of you are playing travel ball over the summer and you're traveling to tournaments all across the country, in and out of region. You're in hotels and towns you've never heard of, never thought you'd ever visit, but those offer opportunities to get a pretty good look at some schools that are a little bit off the beaten path or that you might not normally see. So in conjunction with looking at the schools that are close to home to get a sense of different campuses and how they feel, also take advantage of some of these other opportunities. If you're coming out to Headfirst out in Woodland, California, extend that trip by a day and go check out Santa Clara, go check out Stanford and get a feel for these different campuses before you go, so you can kind of roll these into one more efficient trip for yourself to learn more about not just the exposure and your recruiting, but the different component pieces of the college fit as well.